Hey guys, R4GE VipeRzZ here, and today I'm going to show you how you can replace the thermal paste and disassemble the Powercolor RX 470 Red Devil. Now this is the 4GB version, and I've already replaced the fans on it, so as you can see the fans are now different, so my card may look a little different to yours, but that's just because I replaced the fans on it. So to take the card apart, we first need to remove these 6 screws that are holding the heatsink onto the actual graphics card. So we need to remove that one, that one, that one, that one, that one, and that one. Now we're going to remove these in a cross pattern just to make sure there is no uneven pressure on the GPU die. So now we've removed these 6 screws, we can now take the heatsink off the graphics card. Now before we do that, we do need to be careful. This is because if you come and have a look, as you can see at the bottom here, this is the plug for the fans. So we need to make sure we don't damage that. So what we're going to do is we're going to hold the card and we're going to open it this way. So we're going to gently lift it up and open it like that. Now depending on how crusty some of your thermal paste is or how old some of your thermal pads are, it may take a bit of force to open up the card, but if you give it a little bit of a gentle twist, it should loosen it. Now to unplug this fan header, what we're going to do is we're going to hold onto the plug and we're going to wiggle it from side to side. We do not want to pull up on the cables themselves, we want to pull on the plug. Now if you're struggling to get it unplugged, what I have found the best is to wiggle it from side to side until there is a little gap underneath the fan plug. And then if you can get some tweezers that are curved like this, then you can just put them in the little gap, and then you can keep wiggling the plug side to side whilst applying a small amount of upwards pressure on the plug using the tweezers, and then it should come out of the socket. So now the fan cable has been unplugged, we now have the heatsink separated from the graphics card. So what we're going to do is we're going to clean the thermal paste off the GPU. So to do that, we're going to use some rubbing alcohol. That can either be 70% or 90%, it doesn't really matter. And some paper towel. So we're going to put the rubbing alcohol on the paper towel. And then we're going to clean the thermal paste off. And now we've cleaned the thermal paste off the GPU die, we're now going to clean the thermal paste off the heatsink. So just the same again, we're going to put some rubbing alcohol on the paper towel, and we're going to wipe it off. Now if all you wanted to do was replace the thermal paste, you can put some back on and reassemble it. However, we're going to dismantle this card some more, and for your information, if you were looking at replacing the thermal pads, I've measured these to be about 2mm for both of them. So to take off the backplate, even though there isn't anything important behind it, there aren't any thermal pads or anything like that, we need to take out 10 screws. So they are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. So if we take out all of these 10 screws, we can then take off the backplate. Now all of those 10 screws are out, we can simply lift the card up, and there you go. We've now removed the backplate, but as you can see there are no thermal pads on the back, so there probably isn't much reason for taking it off, but that's how you take it off if you need. So I'm going to put the backplate back on. So to put it back on, it's just the same way we took it off. We just need to line up the screw holes, and then we just need to screw all of the screws back in. And now all the screws are back in, we now have the backplate reattached to the graphics card. So now if we come back to the heatsink, if we want to change these fans out, all we need to do is take the 4 screws out of the plastic shroud. So that one, and then that one and that one. So if we take these screws out, so now the screws are out, we can simply lift the shroud up and it will come off. And then if you want to take the actual fans out, for each fan there are 4 screws behind it holding it into place. So for example, if I unscrew these 4 screws, now the 4 screws are out, we can simply lift up the fan and remove it from the heatsink. So now we're just going to reattach the fan. So again, we're just going to put the 4 screws back in. And now those 4 screws are back in, the fan is now reattached to the heatsink. And then to reattach the shroud, we're just going to put it back on. Line up these screw holes with the holes on the plastic shroud. And then we're going to screw the screws back in. And now the heatsink is back together, we can now put the whole card back together. So what we're going to need to do is we're going to need to replace the thermal paste. So we have our thermal paste here. And we're going to take our thermal paste and we're going to put a fairly large line of it on the GPU die. Now, as long as your thermal paste isn't electrically conductive, it's better to have more on than not enough, as if you have too much then it will just squash out to the voids here and won't really do any damage. But if you don't have enough on, then you can get hotspots on the GPU die where there is no thermal paste, causing them to become damaged. So I usually just put a bit more on than I think I need, and now we put the thermal paste on. We can now get the card and plug the fan header back together. And now the fans have been plugged in, we can now get our card like so, and we can line up the standoffs for the GPU die screws. So if you just gently put it together, you can see where the screw holes line up, and then we can turn it over, and you then should be able to see all of the screw holes through all of the places we took the screws out to begin with. So we're now going to put the 6 screws back in. So for the ones around the GPU, we're going to tighten them up in a cross pattern. So starting at one corner and doing the opposite one. And then I will tighten them all up. And now those 6 screws have been put in, we now have our card fully back together. So there you go guys, that's it. If you liked the video, don't forget the like button. If you disliked it, hit the dislike button. Subscribe for more content like this, and I'll see you another time. Bye.